What's going on, ladies, gents, and kids of all ages? It is Eric coming back at you once again from the Nerd Cave, and today we have another fantastic deck tech for you. It's actually one that's been requested in the comments. People are always looking for me to talk yet again about pirates. You know I love pirates. Pirates is near and dear to my heart. Got a little pirate thing going on myself with the beard. Emerald Steel Pirates is going to become very good going into rotation with the limitation. It's going to be able to play a lot of the removal that we have access to now. Being in steel, you can run Strength of a Raging Fire if you want to. I'm not playing it in this list. You'll see why. We're doing a little bit of shenanigans stuff. It's going to be fun and competitive, and the entire deck list comes in at $50. So if you like a good budget list, especially one where you don't need to run new cards, this is a fantastic option. As always, before we jump into that, I gotta give a big shout out to the Patreons for making the giveaways on the channel possible. If you haven't subscribed, now is a great time to do so. We always have new giveaways coming at you. Eventually we will be doing a Fabled giveaway, I'm sure. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and talk about Emerald Steel Pirates. So the first card in the 1-drop slot, an absolute must. No, I don't feel the need to upgrade my playset to the modern version. All versions are playable. Keep that in mind. When it comes to rotation, you don't have to get the new version of a card as long as you have any version of that same card. So it can't be different wording. It has to be Captain Hook, Forceful Duelist. But a new one of these came out in set, I think 8. Was set 8 or 7. Got different art, which is cool. Something that they did not do for Fabled. I know people were upset about, but I like the old Captain Hook, and this is still very much playable. A 1-cost inkable questing for 1/1/2 stat line with Challenger +2, so when it's challenging in, it's going to be able to challenge for 3, which is definitely not an irrelevant point to be hitting. You can take out a lot of relevant threats in the early game with that 3 attack. On the opposite end of the spectrum, not necessarily looking to attack, we have 3 Fred Mascot by Day, a 1-cost inkable 1/1 stat line, also questing for 1. However, when he is challenged, he is going to go ahead and gain you 2 lore. So your opponent is going to either have to use direct removal on a card that costs you 1, which probably isn't going to be a favorable proposition for them, or they're going to have to challenge into him, let you get into 2 lore, or keep questing with him, which is probably the worst option. Last 1-cost character anyway, we have 3 Dump Truck Carnage's Second Mate. Something, I'm not gonna lie, don't judge me, I have not played this card a lot. I learned is a pirate while making this list. It was a card I was just considering playing regardless of knowing that, and then I saw it was a pirate and I'm like, alright, well, it's gonna be good in pirate list, right? So he is a 1-cost uninkable 0/1 stat line questing for 1, and when you play this character, you get to deal 1 damage to a chosen character, which is fantastic, especially with some of the shenanigans we're trying to pull with this deck list. Still in the 1-cost slot, but moving over to some of our actions, we have 2 Wake Up Alice, a 1-cost inkable action. Return chosen damage character to their player's hand. So this is a neat one, because if you have a character that's damaged and you want to quest in and you want to get him back, especially if there's some kind of enter play trigger or something like that. In the case of Dump Truck, obviously he's not going to have damage to be able to remove, but if you want to heal one of your characters or get one of your opponent's characters that's being a menace off of the field, this is a great way to do it and put them back into their hand. At least slow them down tempo wise, or protect one of your own characters for additional questing. Another 1-cost action, we have 3 Mosquito Bite, which I think is a super neat card. It's a 1-cost inkable action, put 1 damage counter on chosen character. I think this one's neat because there's a lot of deck lists, even going into rotation, that are going to be playing that Rhino, which is a 4/3. Obviously with Captain Hook attacking for 3, great. However, that Rhino has resist 2, so oh no, you can't take it out. However, Mosquito Bite puts 1 damage counter on chosen character, which is going to circumvent resist. It is going to make Rhino lose resist because he then has damage on him, and allow those Captain Hooks to get a favorable trade that your opponent is not anticipating. It's also good against those Calhouns and other characters with resist. Next up, a card I learned I have 4 foils of when building the deck list for this video. We have 4 Improvise, another 1-cost inkable action. Chosen character gets +1 strength this turn and you draw a card. So this is what they refer to as a cantrip, so it is not necessarily a net positive because you're not gaining any additional cards, but it is replacing yourself and it's giving you an additional 1 strength, which can definitely be really good because you can definitely get into instances with like Captain Hook where your opponent has a 4 willpower character, they don't think you're going to be able to take it out. All of a sudden you go Improvise, he gets +1, or even the, and you know, any character, you want him +1 when your opponent doesn't think you're going to be able to have that challenge. There's no characters in these colors with rush, so obviously your opponent's not going to be able to, anticipating rush. So if you're able to boost something up, and especially if you're able to ready characters with it, it can be really good. The last card in the 1-cost slot, we have 4 Fire the Cannons, a 1-cost uninkable action. You know it, you'll love it. You know I love this card, guys. It is one of my favorite actions. I said let the Storm Rage on in my predictions video just because I I really felt like that was more likely. I didn't think they'd bring back Strength of a Raging Fire, and they proved me wrong. If I knew they were going to bring back Strength of a Raging Fire, as far as uninkable removal, dealing 2 damage, I would have definitely anticipated a return of Fire the Cannons. There's certainly something I was hoping for. Love this card. Deal 2 damage straight up. It's really good in the opening game, especially in those new deck lists that everybody's worried about that are going to be running those Rhinos and those Cinderellas into turn 1 with those 2 willpower that are great for blowing up with Fire the Cannons and taking away your opponent's ability to combo off against you. And I've said this in my last deck list, but I think songs are going to be incredibly relevant in the early time span of the meta. I think that could evolve over time depending on how played Ursula Deceiver is. This is a fantastic card when you're going up against those song-based decks. It is a 2-cost inkable 1/3 stat line questing for 1, and when you play this character, you not only get to see your opponent's hand, but if they do have a song card in it, you get to make them discard it. Bye-bye Circle of Life, bye-bye Big Mickey combo, all that silliness. People think they're going to be playing, we're going to be ripping songs out of your hand with Ursula while you're trying to. Still in the 2-cost slot, but not necessarily a card you're always going to be able to get down onto, but it does have an interesting juxtaposition because with this card, it's not dealing damage to itself, so it's going to potentially stay on the board a little bit better, and unlike the Mr. Smeeze of yore, it is a captain. So if you're playing something where you need those captains, keep in mind Nathaniel Flint is going to fill that role. He is a 2-cost inkable 3/3 stat line, just like those Smeeze, questing for 2, just like those Smeeze, and you can't play this character unless an opposing character was damaged this turn, so that's where those dump trucks, those Fire the Cannons, all that stuff is going to come into play to be able to get those Nathaniel Flints on the board. Next up, we have 2 Go-Go Tamago Darting Dynamo, a 2-cost inkable 2/2 stat line, questing for 1 with Evasive. This is one of our primary evasive cards in this deck. I know Evasive is going to be hugely relevant in the new meta. That's where we're just going to take advantage of that direct removal to get those evasives out of our way. We're not so much worried about that, and then we'll challenge into those characters that aren't evasive, or we'll just quest into their face and make them challenge into us. But Go-Go's second ability, when you play this character, you may pay 2 ink to gain lore equal to damage on chosen opposing characters. So again, why we're looking to put those damage counters onto those opposing characters is to get down stuff like Go-Go Tamago and gain those big bursts lore to close the game out. This is a card I went back and forth on playing 3 of, because I hear this from a lot of people, and I've had this experience myself. I know John has had this experience who I deck build for, and that's that you have 4 Dockbald Knights in your deck, and you end up getting 2 of them in your hand. Keep in mind you can play this card without triggering its ability. It's you may. So, you know, if you want to not trigger, you get that first one down, pass up the trigger, and then play that second one, trigger it, and draw those 2 cards. Just to keep in mind that is an option. So, you know, if you get stuck with 2, it's not the end of the world. But he is a 2-cost uninkable 1/3 stat line questing for 1 with when you play this character, you may discard your hand to draw 2 cards. It's a great way to funnel some additional cards in your hand and really your primary card draw on this deck list. Like I mentioned, Improvise is just a cantrip. Jumping over to the 3-cost slot. This is my first time playing this in an Emerald Steel Pirate deck list. I think the card is really good. I just think it particularly shines in this deck list now that we are doing some new things with some additional captains, especially with those Nathaniel Flints potentially coming in as captains on 2, and we have some other captains we'll talk about going forward. But we have Donald Duck first, made a 3-cost inkable 2/3 stat line questing for 1 with, while you have a captain character in play, he's going to get +2 lore, and he's going to quest for 3 like he's a Piglet, but he's going to have 3 willpower like he's you know, not bad like Piglet is. Still in the 3-cost slot, and a big reason we are not playing Strength of Rage and Fire and we are focused on actions that are not songs, is Mr. Smee, Efficient Captain, a 3-cost uninkable 3/3 stat line. He is also a captain, so he's going to be able to trigger those Donald Ducks, and whenever you play an action that isn't a song, you may ready chosen pirate character. Keep in mind, this doesn't say they can't quest, it doesn't say they can't challenge, they can do everything they could possibly want to do, so you're not worried about singing songs with them. You're probably going to be looking to challenge with them or quest with them in additional time, which is a fantastic ability, especially when you have all those 1-cost actions that are already going to be good. When you go ahead and quest in with something, and then you're able to play Improvise and give it +1 strength, ready it with Smee, and then challenge with it, it's just so good. It's such a swing in tempo for the cost of 1, and then you replace the card in your hand with the cantrip that is Improvise. Next up, we have 3 Captain Hook Underhanded, a 3-cost inkable 1/4 stat line questing for 2, also a captain, so he is going to be, you know, triggering those captain triggers on those Donald Ducks, and while this character is exerted, opposing pirate characters can't quest. I think that ability is just super funny because you may end up going against some opposing pirate characters, and telling them that they can't quest is pretty hilarious. And whenever this character is challenged, which is if they're pirate characters, is going to be their only option if they want to do something during the turn, you are going to be able to draw a card. And he does have that 4 willpower, so there's potential that he may be getting challenged more than once, but I think in a lot of instances your opponent's going to try to do whatever they can to challenge him a single time and only let you get the 1 card draw trigger. But much like improvise, that is going to allow him to replace himself and keep some cards in your hand. Next up, one of our non-captains in the deck, we have 3 Pete Games Referee, a 3-cost inkable 3/3 stat line questing for 1. With when you play this character, opponents can't play actions until the start of your next turn. So this is going to shut down any possible actions. It's also going to be a great way to line Pete up for the shift, where they can't play any actions to remove him and he's ready. So the only thing they'd possibly be able to do about that is maybe throw down something like Elsa or something else that's going to exert him and then get him off the field with a challenge. The card I think is very funny, but it is incredibly situational and uninkable. So we did only go with 2 on this particular deck list, but I think it can be really funny, and that is Walk the Plank, a 3-cost uninkable action. Your pirate characters gain exert banish chosen damage character this turn. So if you had a bunch of opposing characters with damage on them, Walk the Plank is going to be a way to just start wiping guys off the board by exerting your pirate characters. And then if you have those Smees down and you got a couple actions, maybe you'd be able to ready him back up and exert him again and go ahead and take out some additional characters or challenge into additional characters, or even quest, because like I mentioned, Smee is going to ready them with the ability to still quest. Next up, we have 4 Smash, a 3-cost inkable action. I was so happy to see that this is getting a reprint in set 9. I think this card really shined in a meta that didn't have as much removal, and I'm hoping it's going to get a chance to shine again. I think this card's really good. I love that Marshmallow is on the art. You know, we all love Frozen, right? So it's a 3-cost inkable action, deal 3 damage to chosen character. It's not going to hit locations, but it is going to clear out some opposing characters, and worst case, if it isn't super relevant to what your game plan ends up being in whatever game you're playing, it's inkable, so you go ahead and throw it down in your inkwell. Getting down to the last couple cards in the deck, the first of which being one of my favorite new cards to come out of set 8, and that is Captain Hook the Pirate King. This is a card I would love to get some of those enchanted of, but I'm really looking to trade for him. So if you got enchanted Captain Hook, you want to trade it, give me a holler. I'd definitely love to work something out with you. He's a 5-cost inkable 4/5 stat line, questing for 2, shifting for 3, so potentially coming down a little bit earlier in the game with that 4/5 stat line. It's a little crazy. And once during your turn, whenever an opposing character is damaged, your pirate characters are all going to get +2 strength and resist +2, which is just a crazy combination of abilities to go ahead and wipe out those opposing characters with some very strong attacks. It all of a sudden even makes something like Dump Truck incredibly good, where it is a 2/1 resist 2. That's still super good, especially when you have something like that Smee down and are looking at additional triggers to be able to ready it. So even if you're getting this down on 3, Smee on 4, plus that 1 to play something like Improvise, you can start doing pretty shenanigansy things really early in the game and control those aggro decks, which people are thinking are going to be a big part of the meta. Next up, and the last card in the deck, we have 3 Pete Space Pirate and Noam 11, a 6-cost inkable 5/5 stat line, questing for 2, so one of the most aggressive stat lines in the deck, shifting for 4. Like I mentioned, he comes in perfectly on curve with those smaller Petes, with them shutting down your opponent's actions on 3. Gives you a great ability to target successfully pretty much every time with that shift to Pete on 4. And while this character is exerted, opposing characters can't exert to sing songs, and your pirate characters gain resist +1. So he, in addition to that Captain Hook, are potentially going to be giving even more resist. You have that Pete down and that Captain Hook, all of a sudden you're looking at pirates with resist 3. What? It's absolutely nutty. So even those smaller willpower pirates can start to do some pretty aggressive stuff. But Pete Space Pirate, fantastic into, like what I mentioned, I think is going to be a very song and aggro dominant meta. So what do you guys think of this deck list? Do you think it's going to be good in this meta specifically? Do you think it's finally time for pirates to shine? Do you think Emerald Steel is the way? I mean, we're losing things like Jolly Roger. Do you think you're better off playing a John Silver location focused deck list? I do think those can be good too, but I tried to go a different direction. I think having a lot of removal can be really super good because a lot of people aren't going to be expecting it, especially that early game removal to deal with those Tianas, those Rhinos, those other low willpower characters that are going to be greedy in those early turns, trying to get advantage of them. So what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, I love to hear it. And when you see those toys, video games, and dump trucks absolutely annihilating those little wimpy characters off in the distance, remember, it is not a mirage. You guys have a great day.